it goes back to the same year Mickey Mouse came to town. It was 1971 when the Disney operation was putting together their massive project. Four of us certainly newly minted Sisters of Notre Dame, Catholic nuns, came to Central Florida at the invitation of the Catholic diocese, the bishop, to work with the orange pickers and the vegetable workers, the migrant workers who came into the state every year to harvest the crops. And so the Catholic diocese felt that the church should reach out to them and help in some way. We moved into South Apopka, we moved into the black community, and we were threatened by the Klan. We got threatening phone calls. They were going to burn a cross and, do other, harmful things. The Catholic bishop called us up and said, we need to pull you out of there. It's too dangerous. And we said, you know what? So sorry, but we're not going to go. Because if we go, we might as well just pack up and leave. People won't trust us. We're just beginning to, develop relationships and people beginning to feel maybe that we're actually the real deal and we're here to stay and we're going to work together with the community. So that was the climate that we were, living in and growing up in. And so, I don't know, we had the arrogance of youth and but also some wisdom enough to know and to say to the bishop, if you don't know this community and you want to reach out to it, you can't start by telling us what our job description should be. Give us some freedom to kind of figure it out. So little by little, we got to develop relationships in the community. We were the only white people that lived south of the railroad tracks in South Apopka. So we started hanging out, going to some of the black churches and meeting people and going to whatever community meetings were being held. So the clinic started one night. This guy that lived on the back street from us, just recently back from the Vietnam War, and he started hanging out with us. And we started hanging out with him and asking him to introduce us around, to get us to know people, to get us to know what's going on. So we were one night at this meeting in the community about healthcare, and there was a chance that the health department was not going to apply for the migrant money, the migrant health money that they used, to enhance their budget. Don't know anything about writing a proposal, don't know anything about healthcare, don't know anything about starting anything like that. But the conversation around the table at this meeting was, we could try this, and then. Somebody said, well, the sisters could do this. So we still argue about who it was, but we were all there. And I'll say, because I'm telling the story, it was me. So I stood up and said, listen, we are four white, sisters that have just arrived in town, within the year. We can't do that. We don't know how to do that. We're just new in town. And the guy on the back street that invited us to this meeting, stood up, put his hand out, and he said, 4 white sisters and 1 black brother. Ooh, when I still say that, I get kind of... Ooh. Because it changed the game. So, if you're in, we're in. Ooh. Because it meant that they trusted us and they were willing to work together with us. And so it was a joint deal. And those other people in the meeting were all black and brown and low-income people. Because back in that day, there was no health care for people who were black and brown. None of the doctors, the private doctors, saw black people, except for one who saw people out of the back door of his house that was where his office was. So that the medical care was the emergency room, which is expensive and not a good way for people to get care. And there were a lot of really serious health issues that if they had been taken care of when the children were first sick, they wouldn't have pneumonia. Or, these guys that had the beginning of TB wouldn't be dying because there had been some kind of intervention while there was still a chance. We put together the proposal, we got some help with that, and we were awarded the grant. And we got the Catholic Church to get some mobile home units that became the facility, and we got the Presbyterian Church to put up the money to buy the property, and thus began the humble beginnings of community health centers in a trailer under a tree, on Forest Avenue. It was to outreach to the agricultural workers that didn't have any other, alternative, and we were called the West Orange Farm Worker Health Association. The clinic began to get a reputation as being a good place to go to, regardless of your financial situation. One of the founders of the clinic was Everardo Cortez, who is now deceased. Farm worker guy, part of the Farm Worker Association, which is an organization that we also helped get started. There's many years ago, and And he was all the way out in Groveland, and he had to come, probably a good 45 minutes, an hour, to the board meetings. He was on the board at the health center, and every meeting that we had of the monthly board meetings, he'd start with, "We need a clinic in Groveland. We need a clinic in Groveland. We need a clinic in Groveland," until once the Apopka operation was established sufficiently, and began to be able to build something of its own, they moved the trailers out there. I think our work, as the Sisters of Notre Dame here, who are part of the Hope Center, it is like rebuilding the broken community, the beloved community. Is finding the people who aren't included or who've been kicked out because they don't fit the preferred image of who people think belong and don't belong. Every time I hear about the statistics of how many clinics there are, how many employees you have, and how many services that community health centers offers, it's like amazing that all came from a little trailer, where the first patients were interviewed and triaged, had their temperatures taken and their blood pressure taken. I hope that the sort of original passion about community and treating people with dignity and respect and working as a family where everybody belongs, is still part of the value that we all operate on. So congratulations on the anniversary.